Kia from Studio J in Atlanta, about 12:15 in the East.
Let's do Charles Barkley. I like that pass.
Deal, yeah, that was very smooth. Shall we get to work?
Yeah, it's good. What time is it?
In the preseason survey of the NBA's general managers, the top two picks to win the championship were number one with 71% of the vote, Brooklyn Nets, the trio of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. Number two with 17%, the Lakers with LeBron, AD, and one didn't make the playoffs. Here they got bounced in the first round sweep on Monday night. We head to Brooklyn for Game 4. Celtics and Nets. All right, Jason Tatum and those guys looking for the kill. And Kevin Durant never been swept in 29 previous playoff series. He came out aggressive and decisive.
Yes, he did. He found it. A lot of them GM in the league, I made a lot of bad decisions before this was over. What the hell?
Jason Tatum's going to wind up with the bucket on the other end.
Man, Jason Tatum is just, his confidence is through the roof right now. I would never, as a GM, vote for somebody else. You have to go to your own team and play a tie. So, I definitely. So you think Shaq could go for the Sacramento Kings championship? Stuff long right now. He isn't.
That Curry fires away from three. He had 23 on the night, 5 out of 9.
He went around
there, and then Grant Williams. How did you do on 5?
Can't leave him in that situation. He thought he was going to get a sneak steal.
58 to 50, Boston at the half. Nick Claxton misses first 10 free throws. Wow. Broke Shaq's record to start the playoff.
Nah, I feel bad, but you still have an out of Nate. Most of the 10 you've been out of Nate. That's right. Well, he knows what he got to work on this summer because this guy plays a lot of minutes. He plays well. Yeah, he plays well. If you don't worry about the points, if you don't get boxed, now you got to work on those. We have two guys on team. Jason Tatum is back there. He's a mismatch problem. He is a mismatch problem. You cannot put a small on him. You can't put a big on him. You just have to double him. You got to get. See, no, that's it, man. Look at that.
95-86. Brooklyn, though, goes down swinging.
Hey, I tell you,
Rockets.
You know that one was luck. He came out firing in the fourth quarter.
Makes it a 3-point game. Watch Marcus Smart with the tip.
He's gotten so much better over the last 3 years. That's an awful foul. That's an awful foul.
Tatum fouls out with 2:48 to go in the game.
I'm trying to figure out what he gave it.
109-103.
Oh,
Kyrie.
Oh, man.
The lead is down to 3. And then when Durant connects, it's a 1-point game, 109-108.
Brooklyn.
Jalen Brown.
Lose his own. Best dribble sometimes is your best dribble.
Score 111-109, and Durant misses the second. Marcus Smart takes it to the hall, and Al Horford's right there.
I'm not sure that was a good basketball play, but it worked out.
Turned out okay. And the Boston Celtics complete the 4-game sweep of the Brooklyn Nets. 116-112 is your final. Those 4 wins coming by a total of 18 points. As Boston moves on. Brooklyn in 3 of the 4 games of the series, shot 50% for the series and 40% the series, swept in the series 116-112. Let's get more from Stephanie Ray.
The Brooklyn Nets were facing elimination in Game 4, and the Boston Celtics were happy to oblige. A strong third quarter helped lead the way for the Celtics, as it has all during the regular season. The fourth quarter was nip and tuck. The Nets never led, but they got within 2 until Boston made it a final.
We don't duck or dodge nobody, so, and that's part of the game. We're going to have to play them eventually. So you might as well get it out the way now. So, it does feel good. We knew what we were capable of. We knew what we wanted to come in here to do. regardless of what anybody else did, and that's okay. It's us versus everybody.
It's hard to say they underperformed because they just played so few games together, so little time together. We never wanted to give up on our expectations, even though we were under duress. But at the same time, you kind of have to have a realistic view as well of where we were at the end of the year.
Sometimes I feel like the noise on the external world and outside noise can seep in. I'm not the type of person to allow that to happen. So as we build together as a squad, I just think we need to be tougher mentally.
No crown over still. It's about how we can progress and get better from here. We see we've been through a lot this year. Everybody in the organization knows what we went through. So we don't need no time to feel regret or be too pissed off about how can we find solutions to get better.
Okay, the season recap, and you can go over a lot of stuff when you're talking about the season recap for Brooklyn. I mean, in fairness to those 71% of those GMs who had them winning the title, a lot of people were high on this team when the season started with those three. Didn't know at that point that Kyrie Irving wouldn't play the first 35 games and the COVID thing, and the team saying, hey, if you can't play at home, you can't play on the road either. Then that changes. Then Harden works his way out, and Ben Simmons comes in, and you never see him in uniform. But you guys put it into perspective for me, how big a disappointment this team was this year.
In order to win the championship, Kenny alluded to this earlier. Everything has to be in sync. One, you got to play together. You got to get to know each other. Two, you got to be healthy. There was a lot going on with the Kyrie thing, and Joe Harris is not out. And they started off with the big three, and James wasn't happy that they moved on. So it was a whole bunch of different lineups. But when you are a superstar, nobody cares about the excuses. When you're a superstar, you're a big name superstar, they expect you to win. Out of all the legends, I probably got swept the most. So what that should tell you is that when you get swept, that you're not that good. So my father used to bring me home like, what happened? Shut up. I was like, that's what happened. So I don't want to hear no excuses. You just got to get better. So they have to get better. Joe will be back, and hopefully they can play all year. Hopefully there's no COVID protocols. But when you're big name stars and there's high expectations put on you, you don't win. It's a disappointment. They're not really disappointed because they have rings, but they should at least win to the finals this year. So, for us, former players who choose franchise, we expected more because we know what superstars are supposed to do. They didn't get it done. Not bad, because they got swept 5 times in that 19 year. But it just so that people think you're good, people think you're good, but not really.
Well, it's a disappointment, but for real. They lost in the first round of the playoffs. They didn't lose in the second round of the conference finals.
They swept in the first round.
Yeah, I swear. So that means things are not good. What's going to be interesting going forward? We got a lot of cowards in the media. Just like those cowards in LA blame everything on Frank Vogel. They're going to start blaming Steve Nash. I think we saw Steve Nash pull every card he had. His 2 best players didn't play well, plain and simple. And his 3rd best player, we don't know where he's at. The problem they got going forward, 3 guys are going to be making $50 million. Now, how are they going to find those other pieces is the question. That's going to be the question going forward. Who's going to want to play on that team? You're going to have a bunch of mediocre players. You're going to have 2 guys who are great players, and Ben, we don't know where the hell he's at. But they're going to have a hard time winning with just 3 players. A couple guys tried to skate and get to the championship, the older guys, in the last couple of years, and they ain't got nothing left in the tank. So I think the hardest thing for this team going forward is where are we going to get players? That to me is going to be the most important part going forward. Yeah, they're in a precarious position of being a bad team again. This was a bad team this year. And the reason, and Chuck was there, I was actually writing that as you said that, because it's going to be pieces 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that's going to help them win a championship, as we see with Boston, with Marcus Smart down the line, and all those guys who contributed today. And then you look at when you say, well, they could get some veterans to come and say, hey, we're going to win a championship with these guys. But then you say, no, well, Paul Millsap came there and he didn't play him. Blake Griffin really didn't play, and my guy from Portland, Marcus, he didn't play either. So it's like, oh, well, I don't want to go there and then in my career there either. So they're in a precarious position where they're going to have to sell the franchise.
What is this? You a bartender? Can I get this?
Hell, it is. You wait till commercial break.
Like everybody's here listening to you. Then he starts talking. You start mixing drinks.
I can't pour me something to drink. Oh, no, while I'm talking, I got the Hey, come on, man. I got all respect for your teammates. We're not teammates. We're not even friends. It make me one. Not a They could drink. Trying to set up right here down the line. Here we go. I want to go too. I mean, but they're in a not the way the solo go. No, but they're in a precarious position. They could be just as bad or worse next year if they can't add the right pieces. And that's going to be interesting because they're going to need some other size. They're going to need some other shooting. And more athleticism, because they have Steph Curry shooting, Patty Mills, but they don't have athleticism at the main spot. They have Kyrie Irving, big, get your Harris back, but they don't have athleticism in the wing position because you got and you saw what Brown and Tatum did. Yes, they don't have any defense on that perimeter.
Now let's talk about the Celtics. As impressive first round as you can get them in play.
I just want to know, if we're going to talk about this, I want to say one more thing about Brooklyn. Okay, well,
let's talk about Boston. Okay. This is still as impressive a first round series as you can get. Brown and Tatum were outstanding. The defense was outstanding. Here's who you get in the next round, either Milwaukee or Chicago. Certainly looking like Milwaukee that has a 3-1 lead after taking those last two in Chicago. But that's a different animal that you're facing in that next round.
That's going to be a fabulous series. Listen, I think we can. All of these things have been laid to bed. Giannis is the best player in the whole world. He's playing at an unbelievable level. The Middleton thing is interesting because he's a heck of a player. But the one thing, and you're going to see it later with my 76ers, their star plays here all the time. He don't allow those other guys not to play hard the whole time. So that's going to be, listen, I love Giannis, man. And I've always said, him, Westbrook, even though Westbrook got some flaws, all I can ask of a guy is to give me maximum effort the whole time. And I love watching Giannis play. And let me tell you something. Giannis against Jason Tatum. I hope those games, I hope we get those games Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever, because that's going to be amazing.
Yeah. How high has Jason Tatum risen in your eyes with his play this year?
Very high. If you watch karate movies like I did growing up, at some point, the student was killed the master to become the master. And that's what happened. I played him last year and lost. This year he took it to him. He wouldn't shy away from it. Played him on defense, played him tough, played him physical, went down and scored on him. So it's called winning the spot. Like I know you were Kevin Durant and all that, but forget all that. I'm coming to take the spot. They can't take the spot right now. If he wants to advance, you got to take Giannis' spot. And the way they play, and with Milwaukee being down the man, I like Boston.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Tatum, the nightmare mismatch. For Giannis, no. Yeah, even for Giannis. I think defensively, he could be a mismatch for Giannis in this regard. Because he would stay perimeter. And Giannis is such a great defensive rebounder, and he pushes the ball off the rebounds. That would take that away from him. He'd be away from the rim. Then have to go get it. That allows you to set your defense. I don't know if he's going to have a steady night as well as Jason Tatum because of that. I'd rather see Giannis, if I was Milwaukee, rebounding the ball and pushing the basketball up. If he's guarding Jason Tatum shooting threes, he's he's not rebounding the basketball and coming at you down. But sometimes when you're the best player and the best defender, you got to take that challenge. Yeah. At the end of the game. At the end of the game. At the end of the game. Now, can I ask you about my last question? Yes. I just want to know, do you think they're going to put that play-in banner up in the arena? They want to play in game. I see where you went there, Marquis. Let me get some money. Check out the chatter of social. What about it? Is that real hair for real? Come on, man. It's in the middle of the thing. Exactly. In the middle of my comment. Is that cold? Is that cold? Oh, yeah, it's cold. That's what you do. Kenny making a serious point, and then Kenny just. You know what you need out here? You need one of those wet rags here. Get us one of these, will you? I think if I die cold, maybe try this. Last call.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Welcome to Playoff Central Live, presented by State Farm. I'm your host, Chris Miles, and that guy over there has more rings than you have fingers on your hand. 7 rings from Big Shot Bob. And great to have you on the show, and it's great to talk about these teams still on a championship quest. So we have 8 teams getting ready for the second round, but let's start with the MVP finalists in Joel Embiid, because we have an update on what's going on with him. Embiid out indefinitely with an orbital fracture and mild concussion. He suffered the injury with less than 4 minutes to go in Philly's closeout Game 6 win over the Raptors. There's no timetable for his return. It's not determined if he will need surgery or not yet. Remember, 4 years ago, Embiid had a left facial fracture, missed 3 weeks with that. Also has a thumb injury in his shooting hand. This year, Embiid played a career-high 68 games, and they struggled without him. You see their record below 500 without Embiid on the floor. Remember, Andre Drummond was on the floor. A lot of those games, they do not have him anymore. Here's Jimmy Butler showing some love to his former teammate.
I feel bad for my guy. Obviously, one of my former teammates, arguably the MVP of this league. And I think I speak for everybody. This team, like, we want Joe to play.
It would be like if Jimmy was out, right? We would do different things, but Jimmy is, Joel is so much more dominant than everybody. So if you miss a Joel, it clearly allows the other team to do different things defensively that they would never envision to do with Joel on the floor.
I'm not an analytics guy, obviously, but I was told that they're a much better team defensively whenever he's on the floor, as they should be. And I would guess offensively as well. It's going to be a challenge, but they beat us once without it.
It may be harder for us than for James. You know what I mean? Like, I think James has no issues being more aggressive to score. James is such a facilitator with us because we have great shooting around him.
Space. We learned that Pike was fated to be gravely injured in an accident at some future point. When the character returned in 2019 for Star Trek Discovery, Mount's incarnation of Pike got an unfortunate glimpse into his future, which is why when we first meet him here, he's moping around in the mountains with his best pandemic look. Of course, it was that stint on Discovery that revitalized the Pike character for modern audiences, along with new versions of Spock and Number 1, played by Ethan Peck and Rebecca Romaine. Fans love this trio, and now they've got a Star Trek show to call their own, depicting the early adventures of the USS Enterprise pre-Captain Kirk. The main thrust of the premiere involves the crew of the Enterprise called upon to look for one of their own after a mission goes awry on a planet not unlike Earth of the 21st century. Parallel Earths was a concept Trek creator Gene Roddenberry used in the original series, and this episode leans into that idea. The planet that Pike and company find, and the situation they find themselves in the middle of there, feels like classic Trek, with a good dose of cautionary storytelling thrown in along the way. Inevitably, some fans may bristle at Strange New Worlds' brushes with continuity. For example, Spock's time on Vulcan with a certain character seemingly collides with the event of one of the most famous original series episodes. And yet, presumably, it can be weaved into the fabric of that earlier episode without actually breaking canon. Whether or not the tightrope act regarding this particular subplot is worth the effort remains to be seen. Speaking of which, stories like Spock's here, or Pike's struggles with the foreknowledge of his future, will seemingly continue throughout the show. Yes, Strange New Worlds is focusing on new stories each week, but also telling its characters' stories over a long haul. Mount and Peck certainly have some good stuff to chew on in this episode. The Enterprise could seemingly be powered by Mount's charisma alone, and Peck's unique take on Spock, who is 10 years out from being Spock, is addictive. But franchise newcomer Christina Chong's Leon Noonien Singh also gets to shine. Let's face it, the idea behind the character sounded pretty dumb when she was announced. A descendant of Khan, as in the Wrath of Khan, working on the Enterprise? But Chong is great here, hinting at her genetically tangled past and also showing the guys a thing or two when they're planet side. The rest of the cast are a mix of new and familiar faces, but even with the latter, these feel like fresh new spins on the likes of Uhura and Nurse Chapel. Star Trek Strange New Worlds premiere takes a classic approach to the franchise, not just in terms of its settings or characters, but also in its storytelling. With the terrific Anson Mount, Ethan Peck, and Rebecca Romaine leading a group of promising new Star Trek actors, Strange New Worlds is, so far, funny, inspiring, and kind of amazing. It's the best new Trek in years. For more on Star Trek, make sure to check out our chat with the cast of Strange New Worlds. And don't forget to like and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.
And it looks like we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to CinemaCon. This is the John Camus Show CinemaCon coverage for CinemaCon 2022 here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've already talked about the Sony presentation. We talked about the Disney presentation. We talked about the Warner Brothers presentation. We skipped talking about the Universal presentation because, quite frankly, it was a snore fest. But I'm sure we'll talk about some of it on the John Campea Show, maybe tomorrow or early next week. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Or next Wednesday when I'm there and I can bring my 2 pages of notes that I took.
Yes. But you also left 20 minutes, no, probably 30 minutes before the presentation ended.
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's right.
I literally ran out, quick pee break, and then ran right back in. I missed nothing.
Oh, you just didn't come back to the seat.
Yeah. No.
Because of all the people in the room. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, I'm a nice person.
Okay, I thought Aaron was the bright one in the group for just taking off because it was a snore fest.
I disagree.
I literally snored.
You've been snoring all week, Rob.
We were watching The Black Phone. We were watching this horror movie, The Black Phone, and Aaron nudges me. I'm like, what? She goes, look over there. And I look over at Rob, and Rob's...
I didn't
that
know.
Was the second time.
I had no idea.
Wait, no, it was not for a second.
And I love that movie.
It was the second time that I had to elbow.
That was the best 17-minute movie he ever saw.
Man, Rob, I loved it. I thought it was great. Rob is playing the role of me this weekend.
Anyway, but today, guys, we went to the Paramount presentation, and we knew it was going to be a special one because a part of the Paramount presentation today was not only showing us a bit of a look at the stuff they have coming up this year, but they were also going to be doing a full screening of Top Gun Maverick. Now, of course, last year in August, when Aaron and I here were at CinemaCon 2021, they showed us like the first 15 minutes of it, and we loved what we saw. So we were really excited about seeing that. So we're going to review in a very non-spoiler way. We're going to review Top Gun Maverick in a few minutes. But first, we're going to talk about the presentation of Paramount. Yes.
The best presentation, I feel.
He knows about the presentation because it was like 18 minutes long. And they did a big Sonic the Hedgehog song.
Yes, that was so good.
I was singing in Rob's ear. I was like, the S is for super and the U is for unique. It's 9:15 in the morning. What the hell are we doing?
Yeah, and then
too early for all of this.
And then the CEO even walked out of the ring or came out of the ring. He even played his
with Jim Carrey's mustache.
Yeah. Well,
with Dr. Robotnik's mustache on. But last year, the chairman of Paramount, he did a simulated Jackass stunt because they were also promoting Jackass last year.
Well, it was like a Super Dave / Jackass. In the screening of in the promotional screening of Jackass last year, they had him with Johnny Knoxville, and he was being loaded into a cannon, and then they shot him out of a cannon on the screen, and then all in a go-kart thing, and then all of a sudden on the stage there was this huge plume of smoke, and he zoomed out on the stage and had a Super Dave jacket. And then this year coming out in the mustache, and I was like, you know what? It must be really fun to work for Paramount if that's the guy in charge.
He's like in charge of distribution.
No, he was CEO of something, right? They said
I thought he was chairman.
Chairman.
He's the chairman of Paramount, from what I understand. No?
No, he was. I would trust.
And then they brought out the CEO.
The guy who directed Norbit.
He's the CEO's boss.
Yeah.
So I think he's the chairman.
Yeah, that's the chairman who directed Norbit, who took over.
No, he's the CEO, not the chairman. That guy.
Regardless, Paramount seems like a lot of fun, and just for them to be the only studio that year after year seems to show up and actually just go, hey guys, we're just here to make movies. We're here to have fun. Some of the other presentation executives are, they're executives, and you see why they have their legal degrees and they wear their suits really well, and they're very serious.
Which is nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. I appreciate the professionalism. It's just, it was really refreshing to see just someone go, hey man, I love the movies just like you do, and I'm just here to have some fun and have the numbers to back it up.
He goes, and our first 4 movies of the year all open at number 1 for the weekend.
I like the way me and Chris met a young owner of a theater chain. And the suits, I'm the top guy coming out there and doing their little speeches. They gotta think there's younger kids out there that are owning theater suits. I just like the way the Paramount guy seems very personable.
Yeah, he does.
And he said something really important, though, too, which I think factors into the whole, entertainment aspect of his presentation is we aren't fully back yet. We cannot be complacent. And by doing things where you pull out all the stops and you go above and beyond, it does set a precedence for what kind of experience you're going to have. If I'm having an experience...
One big thing.
I apologize in advance for however this goes. Lebitard asked if I cried when I wrote it and said I was doomed if I did, so I guess I'm doomed. It's all right. A few years ago, I wrote about my dad on the anniversary of his passing, which wasn't easy, but this is more difficult. Because anytime I wrote anything for this show, sitting behind me in my office in his spot on a leather chair was Otis the dog. And that thing is worn in like a catcher's mitt because of him. Ever since COVID, when we seemed to do everything on Zoom, if you talk to me, well, you got him as well, right over my right shoulder, because he just wanted to be wherever I was. Now, sometimes he'd stand up and readjust. Sometimes he'd lick himself because, hey, what do you want from me? I'm a dog. I waited a long time in my life to get married. I waited just a little bit longer to get my first dog. Otis arrived just a couple of weeks after our wedding day. Training wheels before you have a kid, right? Make sure you can take care of something, keep it alive. It turned out to be a battle, and man, did he battle. He had so many surgeries, we lost count. We jokingly started referring to him as Otis the Bullet Dodger. He fought through so much and just kept on trucking. But nobody dodges them all. And when yet another tumor arrived, it turned out to be the bullet with his name on it. And we said goodbye to our good boy. I don't know what in my life has made me cry like this. Such profound sadness over a love that was so damn pure. Now, it bothers my mom when I say nothing has ever loved me the way Otis did because she's my mom, I understand. But I just ask her, I ever do anything that made you mad? Uh-huh. Exactly. Otis was never mad at me. Now, he wouldn't look at me when he saw a suitcase. He'd go on hunger strike anytime I was gone for too long, but that was as cross as he ever got with me. Nothing we do could earn what our dogs give away to us for free. That level of love and loyalty. And so many of you know what I am talking about. I've read countless moving tributes through the years about what your bonds meant and what made your dogs unique. And I always felt badly for you, but I had no idea, honestly, and I wish I didn't know now. The truth of the matter is that the only thing our dogs have to do to take up this much room in our hearts and in our souls is be ours. Otis gave way in the pecking order to a sister and then 2 brothers. So gentle, so patient, so protective. He would have taken off your arm if he thought you meant to do them harm. For real. But even as they pummeled him and climbed on him and pestered him, he never so much as showed his teeth, even one time, to any of them in protest. He'd raise his voice and do that dog talk thing. Ow! I'd laugh and I'd say, talk to him, Odie boy, let him know. But that was the extent of it. Simply by his presence, he has been a joyous and loving constant every single day of each of their lives. Trying to explain his absence to my children was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever had to do. How do you make it make sense to them? Hell, how do I make it make sense to me? And the simplest explanation, I suppose, for any of this is the truth. That the best part of this life is loving anything, and you do it, even knowing the hardest part, which is that somewhere in the equation, inevitably, there will be loss. And the weight of this one is immense. Because he was the corner puzzle piece. So much of what mattered to our family, the big things and the little, connected to him. When I get home from the show late at night, I'd sit in a chair in a room off of our kitchen in the dark, and I'd wait to hear the click of his nails on the floor. And then he'd barrel down the stairs, tail going like a helicopter, and he'd headbutt my knee again and again like he was saying, "Give me some love, Papa, and some treats. All right, big fella, I got plenty of both." Just like sitting behind me in my office. It was the last part of our daily routine, to be wherever I was. And now it's not. After the show tonight, I'd rather drive all the way from D.C. to the Pacific Ocean instead of taking a short ride home where I'm going to sit in the dark, waiting for my Odie boy. But if this hurt is the cost of the transaction, for being on the receiving end of a mighty love that I got to know in Otis the dog, then I pay it with enormous gratitude. Because even though I'm crying, I was just so happy he was ours. And I'm so happy that we were his. My friend Spencer Hall said simply, dogs are grace. And Chris Stapleton sings about a revelation that a dog has a soul. And they're both right. I stared into the eyes of Otis the dog and into his soul, and I promised him again and again, yours is going to forever live in mine.
We're going to be talking about a little bit more fantasy here while rounds 6 and 7 continue to roll on. Mike, let's talk season-long fantasy here, all right? I got a question for you.
Okay.
Quarterbacks.
Nope.
Okay. How about tight ends?
Nope.
All right, so don't draft quarterbacks or tight ends from this year's draft class.
Remember, season long, right? We're not talking dynasty, season long. Not interested in anybody at those 2 positions.
Nope.
I mean, nothing new there, right?
Nope, nothing new there. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the running backs. Obviously, there are a handful of guys here at the running back position that we have talked about. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker. You talk about
James Cook.
Yep, all 3 of them. Those kind of feel like the main 3 so far that would have fantasy relevance.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into a couple of guys throughout the summer, too. We talked about them on this show as well that could potentially have an opportunity. But those are the main 3, right? They went in the second round. We talked earlier on about how second-round running backs, as rookies, have had a lot of fantasy success. About 40% of the time, they've been top 25 scorers at the position. So that's interesting to me. And I will say this, though. The landing spot's not ideal, right? You know, we were hoping for clear paths to feature back roles. Breece Hall's going to have to deal with Michael Carter. Kenneth Walker's to deal with Rashad Penny and maybe Chris Carson in Seattle. And James Cook, of course, has to deal with at least Devin Singletary in Buffalo, right? So it's not a walk in the park like we were hoping for that we got with Najee Harris last year, for example, but it's closer maybe to what Javonte Williams had and limited his upside a little bit. But at the running back position, those will probably be your first three that are drafted, and certainly there's going to be opportunity for maybe flex value right out of the beginning. Breece Hall maybe jumps into the RB2 mix. The other guys, still some things to be learned there.
Yeah, there are a handful of guys still. We'll see how everything breaks out through the rest of the offseason. Maybe some other names will pop that we have seen from this draft. But yeah, a lot of early running backs, those were really the only names that really stood out to us. Let's talk about some wide receivers. Because this is where, and we've already said this, this is where
so many guys
everybody is at. Drake London is like, let's just start here. We'll start at 8 and work our way down. Drake London looks to be awesome. Definitely somebody that you consider here in redraft.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Opportunity, size. I know the quarterback situation is a question mark, obviously. Yeah, but he's going to be on the field. He's going to see a big target share. So we like him. Should be a fantasy starter right away.
Garrett Wilson going to the New York Jets.
Same kind of thing, right? A little bit more competition there. Corey Davis, Elijah Moore was tremendous last year. They had 3 tight ends. Obviously, the running backs we just talked about. So there's a little bit more competition there. But at the same time, it's a guy that is a top 10 talent. He's going to be on the field a lot.
Chris Olave goes to the Saints, where he's going to have to split some time with Michael Thomas there. I'm excited to see how he works out with Jameson Winston.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Olave, same kind of thing. They were looking for a number 2 wide receiver. They found one in Olave, most likely, at least in terms of he's going to step in and play those snaps.
Yeah, and the Lions did the same thing when they acquired Jameson Williams to be able to pair with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Although obviously he's hurt to start the year, so that's going to be something in a redraft where you're not really looking at him until you get towards the. I don't want to say. You're probably not drafting Jameson Williams, and he is a waiver wire pickup if
somebody like a Lions fan, for example, in your draft here is going to reach on him a little too early. But yeah, he's probably slow start most likely. If he just comes out and lights it up in week 1, that's going to be a surprise.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's talk about a couple other guys here. There are 2 guys that didn't go in the first round that I think have some decent places where they landed, and that's Sky Moore taking over the Tyreek Hill spot in Kansas City, and Christian Watson with Devontae Adams now gone in Green Bay. Let's start with Sky Moore. I want to ask you, what do you think that he can be here in this Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, it's interesting, and he went kind of late in round 2, well after Watson, who the Packers traded up for and took him early in the second round, but Moore is a great opportunity. I mean, again, it comes down to really you either have it or you don't. If he does have it, the opportunity is tremendous. There's a lot of Jags, essentially, in that wide receiving core, right, with Valdez-Scantling and Mecole Hardman, who hasn't panned out through 3 years, and Juju Smith-Schuster, who knows? I mean, he's very much a wild card. There's an opportunity for Moore to play a lot, and if Mahomes likes him and wants to get him the ball on 18 to 20% of his targets, he's going to be no doubt fantasy starter, and because of that, he should be on the fantasy radar. You're going to like him in the middle round.
Absolutely. I'm just not in on Mecole Hardman. I mean, for 3 straight, I want to like the guy so much.
He's been good, but he doesn't get the volume. And there's something to be said for that. Targets and opportunities are a talent stat. If you don't get them, there's a reason why.
All right, so let's talk about Christian Watson, because he should have a ton of opportunity with Devontae Adams gone. That leaves about 300 targets there in that offense, give or take.
Wow.
Be able to have. Curious though what you think about Christian Watson here with Aaron Rodgers, because a lot of possibilities here for him.
Oh yeah, he's a fun one for sure. Small school guy, but he's 6'4", crushed it at the combine. One of the best speed scorers at the position. Excellent broad jump. The guy is just a tremendous athlete, and again, the opportunity's great. I mean, look, guys like Alan Lazard, MVS, many others haven't turned into fantasy stars in a very good Green Bay offense, but they just weren't at that level, right? If Watson is, and it's an early second-round pick, pedigree's there, the Packers obviously think he is, and you're in that high-scoring Aaron Rodgers-led offense, I mean, we know Aaron Rodgers. He has to like you, he has to trust you, but if he picks Watson, if Watson's his guy, and he gets him, again, 20% of the targets, he's going to be a major breakout in his first season. So, and again, there's not a lot of guys there. Sammy Watkins is there, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. There's a path to a big workload for Watson right out of the gate. So I'm excited about him, and I'll be looking at him in the middle rounds for sure.
Heck yeah. I don't love him coming to the NFC North as a Lions fan. I mean, the idea that I'm going to have him and Aaron Rodgers, because he ran like a 4.37 at 6'4". I mean, he has great speed down the field. That's something that is going to be really interesting to people.
Well, if it makes you feel better, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. So that Lions offense, look, if Jared Goff plays average football,
yes,
look out. Great offensive line. Andre Swift, Hawkinson, the 2 receiver. I mean, DJ Chark, love him.
Yes.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.
Today is your day. You're off to great places. Commish. Say hey. There you go. Come on. With the chain on your neck and Versace on your shoes, you have the best trip as you wait for a team to choose. You've worked your tail off, so let the people know that you're the guy who will help their franchise grow. Teams looking at players, debating with care, fans anxiously waiting to see who will go where. Last year, Trevor Lawrence was the #1 pick. This year, Aiden Hutchinson's name should be called quick. Now, the draft can be an up and down slope. Things will happen and frequently do, like Eli Manning saying nope, or CeeDee Lamb snatching his phone from his boot. The war rooms will battle to make things happen. So don't worry, don't stoop. Just go right along. You'll get the call too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. Enjoy draft night in Vegas under the lights.
What's up, and welcome into ESPN Digital's coverage of Day 3 of the 2022 NFL Draft. Shane Cornett, Mike Tannenbaum, Jordan Reed, and Ian Fitzsimmons are holding things down for us all day on ESPN Radio and, of course, the ESPN app. We are on the app. We are on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We are Phil Murphy, Scooby Mageza, KJ Wright to join us shortly. It's a party, Scooby.
Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. Day 3 of the draft. I mean, these last couple of days are really where you find that value with the players. We've seen some great players getting drafted, and now let's see how much homework these teams have been doing, because get those guys that can contribute at this late in the draft will be huge. And as you can see, there's some key players available on Mel Kiff's big board.
Yeah, Calvin Austin, Yak Machine, Khalil Shakir, high character guy, lines up everywhere. Daniel Fa'alele, all 384 pounds of him. Tariq Woolen has traits you just can't replicate. 6'4" corner, runs a sub 4.3. We got a whole lot of fun here, and it's going to be all rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. No commercials. We're either going to be the radio coverage that we have simulcast, or of course Scooby and I in studio, and more pillows than we probably need. This reminds me of the first time I made the bed as a married man. Just way too many pillows. We're going to get rid of some of these. KJ Wright's going to join us as well. But for now, Day 3 of the NFL Draft 2022 kicks off from Vegas. As Scooby said, so much of the 53-man roster getting filled out here in the coming hours. So enjoy the coverage with us and hang out with us. As you can see, the Bucs are on the clock.
With the first pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trayvon Walker. The Detroit Lions select Aiden Hutchinson.
I can't even describe
describe it. It's been a very good year. I'm super grateful that I'm sitting here at Detroit Live.
The New York Jets select Sauce Gardner.
He played 448 coverage snaps, allowed 17 catches, not one touchdown.
The New York Football Giants select Kayvon Thibodeau.
Do you salivate when you think about the possibilities of how he's going to isolate you and put you in places to be successful?
Can I tell you that when I was watching film, I felt like I was watching a steakhouse commercial. Like my mouth was watering. Just fire. I was just so ready. Like, oh yeah. You know, it's so much you can do. I love it. It's time.
Now, live from Caesars Forum in Las Vegas, alongside Ian Fitzsimmons, Mike Tannenbaum, and Jordan Reed, here's Shea Cornett.
Day 3 of the 2022 NFL Draft. We are up early in Las Vegas and we are ready to go. Rounds 4 through 7 today. We're going to take you all the way through all of them. Mike Tannenbaum, Shea Cornett, Jordan Reed joins the party, and Ian Fitzsimmons. And guys, momentarily, we'll go to the podium because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the first to make their picks today and to start off round 4. So we'll go see who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select once they go on the clock. But let's look back at what we saw the last few days, right? Round 1, obviously, Thursday, 2 and 3 last night. And as we look ahead to round 4, and this is where I think, championship teams can be made. One famous coach once said that 1 through 3 can be easy, but 4 through 7 is where you really get into it, right? And you build character and you build a team around it. Let's go best available player, a guy who could be a sleeper perhaps in this year's draft. When you look at your boards that you 3 have, who are you looking at?
Yeah, there's a number of players. There's 2 Isaiahs that stick out to me, Spiller and Likely. So Isaiah Spiller was a really productive running back at Texas A&M. I think he plays faster than his time speed. I think he goes here in the 4th round. I think his skill set really translates well to the NFL. And Isaiah Likely was somebody that really stood out the Senior Bowl. We were there, Jordan, and I think he has really – Jeremy Ruckert went. I think he's a real comparable player to him, and there's still a number of good tight ends out there, but the one I like the most is Isaiah Likely.
Jordan, who do you like? Who do you still have on your board that you think could go high here in the 4th round?
Well, there's 2 guys for me. The first one is quarterback Sam Howell from North Carolina. Some people saw him as a 2nd-round guy.
Yeah.
I think this is probably where he's projected to go for the most part, and Sam's a really interesting case just because he lost so much. Last season, North Carolina lost over 90% of their offensive production. He lost his 2 running backs, in Javonte Williams and then also Michael Carter, and then he lost to De'Ami Brown and Daz Newsome on the perimeter. So the thing with Sam is that he had to learn so much last year from a rushing standpoint. Only had 150 rushing yards coming into last season in his career. Then he had over 800 last year. So last year was really a telltale as far as his career and how things had to change for him. So there's some teams that could take the quarterback early on. Tampa Bay could be one if they're looking for a successor to Tom Brady. Seattle is still in the market for a quarterback with Drew Lock. So there's some teams early on. And then the other guy is Perry Winfrey, who was the MVP of the Senior Bowl. I was really impressed with him down there, and I think he's going to go really early today.
Ian, what about you?
I agree on Winfrey, and I'm going to give you 2 way off the radar. Damone Clark, linebacker out of LSU. You wear 18 for a reason at LSU. That means your character is off the charts. And then I talked to 2 SEC offensive coordinators that both brought him out as one of the best players they played against all year. He has a herniated disc. This is a redshirt year. One NFL GM told me for him, expect him to go off the board. He's a steal in this draft.
All right, and with that, guys, let's go to the podium because Roger Goodell is going to welcome us in here for the start of the 4th round of the 2022 NFL Draft. We go to the podium here in Las Vegas.
Casual Commissioner.
Don't even want to interrupt the Blue Man Group, but good morning. Yeah. Come on, you can do better than that, Vegas. All right, welcome back to day 3 of the 2022 NFL Draft. Thank you to the city of Las Vegas and all of you for making this such a great weekend and your hospitality. Thank you. We have 4 important rounds remaining today and lots of talented players waiting to find out which team they're going to be playing for in the NFL. And as you can see, joining me on stage behind me are some of our honored season ticket members from across the league. Many are also out here. And we're also joined by local youth football players. And soon, these fans and all of you will be cheering on these young athletes in NFL Stadium. There they are. So Vegas, you ready to bring it home? All right, round 4 is now officially open. By way of trade, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock.
All right, so the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are now officially on the clock, and yes, we are underway here, day 3, round 4 of the 2022 NFL Draft. Again, coming to you from Las Vegas, Shea Cornett, Jordan Reed, Mike Tannenbaum, Ian Fitzsimmons here, taking you all the way up to the end of this draft. As a reminder here, guys, just like in round 3, rounds 4, 5, and 6, teams get 5 minutes to make their decisions, and then in round 7, that gets shortened to 4 minutes, okay? So we'll kind of try and keep up as we go pick by pick and dissect each player and then also look at things big picture. Let's zero in here now on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So far, their selections, which started in round 2, remember they traded out of round 1. They took Logan Hall, defensive end out of Houston, Luke Helmi-Gadecki, right? Offensive tackle out of Central Michigan, and then Rashad White, running back out of Arizona State. And so now they've got 2 picks here in the 4th round due to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Guys, what direction could you see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going with here?
Yeah, well, they attack their needs really well. We talked yesterday about no Pierre-Paul right now, no Ndamukong Suh, despite his social media onslaught of, selling himself. So I can see another front 7 player going here. You can't have enough of them. They drafted Joe Tryon a year ago. And then in the secondary, last year they were devastated by injuries. Carlton Davis was re-signed, but he's been hurt. So to me, I can see something on the defensive side of the ball. I'm assuming at some point they're going to sign Gronkowski. I'm sure he just doesn't want to go through spring ball. So I don't see a tight end. I see something probably more on the defensive side.
Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think defensive end, they have to go there. And as Mike mentioned, I think they have some needs on that side of the ball. They have some defensive linemen to replace. Already selected Logan Hall, who's that inside-outside versatile guy. He can play, I think he can play inside or outside. So look for a defensive end here. Somebody like a Kingsley Enagbare from South Carolina could be an option. I think this is a really good range for him here.
You haven't had many tight ends go off the board. I know Gronk is going to show up at some point, but there's no O.J. Howard anymore.
Right.
So you have a ton of talented tight ends, like a Charlie Kohler, at Iowa State. He may be more of a 5th-round guy, but if you have a tight end that's very high on your board right now, that wouldn't surprise me also if you're Tampa.
Just to go along with that, Cameron Brate, as of right now, is the only tight end on this roster, right? He's going to be 31 this summer, so he's getting up there a little longer in the tooth, and this is a team that utilized the 3 tight end system last year. And Gronk also, we should be reminded, is here in Vegas. He held Gronk Beach just yesterday. I think, where was that at? I'm not even sure. The Encore Beach Club or something?
I don't want to know.
He's having a good time.
And with the Tannenbaums, it takes a village. So here's Gronk a couple of weeks ago in Boca Raton with my daughter. So she was, interviewing him. So we fully expect to be breaking that story when Gronk officially goes back to Tampa.
Okay, which I think we're all decided. Wow. I think the fact, guys, and we'll see what they do here, and maybe this could change our mind with the selection if they do go tight end. But nonetheless, they've gone through 3 rounds at this point without selecting a tight end in the draft. I think that means that they're putting their eggs in the Gronkowski basket, thinking that he is going to return. Wouldn't you address a need, especially with the lack of tight ends that we've seen go through rounds 1 through 3? There is depth at that position. If you didn't think Gronk was coming back, Jordan?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the funny thing about this tight end class is that there's not a Kyle Pitts type of player in this draft class, but I think the depth of this class is really on day 3, and I expect those guys to fly off the board. We could see one right here.
Hey, we brought this up quite a bit over the last 2 days, but it's more prevalent now here in rounds 4 through 7 than ever. And Ian, that was the point of this being kind of an oversaturated draft. And I feel like on this day 3 is when we're going to see that more so than we have in the first 2 days.
Every college coach, every scout, every general manager I talk to, and Mike T, you can elaborate on this even more so from that GM's perspective. Because of the COVID super seniors, you have guys that you could have in this draft would have gone in late 2nd. They're going now late 3rd. Late 3rd are going in the 4th, and you're going to get tremendous value because of the super seniors. This draft is, as so many told me, they use the word oversaturated. So a lot of guys, it's great for teams, Mike, in that front office, seat, that you're getting tremendous value. Bad for players because you'd have been, getting that 2nd round money instead of a 3rd round money, or guys today, 4th round money, it would have been 3rd round. But this is a very deep, talented draft, and today is where the guts of teams are made, and teams are going to get steals when it comes to talent.
Yeah, and Fitz, you've mentioned that for the last couple of days, and I think you're completely correct. And I think there'll be a lot of really, when we look back at this draft, we'll see a number of stars that come out of this round, and maybe an intriguing quarterback, as Jordan mentioned, and Sam Howell. To me, he just didn't play well this year. And I know he lost all those weapons, but and then you watched him in a couple of key spots, and he was walking the bases loaded, and he needs a year to really refine his accuracy. But there are some real quality players that I think we're going to look back at this 4th and 5th round and say, like, wow, there's some really notable stars that come out.
I want to stay with the quarterbacks here because I just want to remind everyone how this weird kind of draft with the quarterbacks has gone. Obviously, the first quarterback we saw go off the board was Kenny Pickett. He went number 20, and he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then we had a long wait for the next 3 to come off the board. Next was Desmond Ridder. He was the second quarterback drafted out of Cincinnati. He went to the Falcons with the 74th pick. Then it was Malik Willis, who went to the Titans at number 86. And then yesterday, we saw Matt Corral go to the Panthers with the 94th pick. A few things I want to say here. Number one, in terms of what happened with the Panthers, again, we talked a lot about Matt Corral. We talked a lot about the Panthers being in the market for a quarterback for a long time. Up until that pick, guys, we were talking about Baker Mayfield perhaps ending up in Carolina by last night's end. That was according to our Kimberly Martin. Well, then their GM comes out and says, well, now that we drafted Matt Corral, perhaps we're done with our quarterback room. We can save that discussion for a little bit later on today. But now, in talking about Sam Howell and how today might go and where he might go, we don't know at this point because, again, it's been a crapshoot to use kind of a term here since we are here in Vegas with quarterbacks. Sam Howell, and you said he didn't play well this year. But he did do well in things like the Senior Bowl, right, and Combine or whatever, the after the season things that he participated in. But do you think that was a product of him or more the system that was run there at North Carolina?
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point. He actually, I thought he threw the ball exceptionally well at Indy, way better than I expected him to. A lot of guys struggled in Mobile, not Jordan Cornette for the record. A lot of quarterbacks throwing the ball did. Jordan actually thrived. But the conditions were really tough there, Shay. And from an evaluator standpoint, and Jordan and Ian, I'd love to get your, I thought that was good to see them. I thought Carson Strong, I was so excited to see him. And boy, he was so disappointing. His arm strength, I thought it was going to be an opportunity to thrive, and he didn't. In terms of, again, how, I know he lost all those players, but there was just a dip in the production, and that's, again, what greatness is about. Patrick Mahomes is making $45 million a year for a reason, because Tyreek Hill is going to go, and we still expect Kansas City to be great. So, again, I'm not saying Sam Howell has to be Patrick Mahomes, but at least hold serve this year, which, in my opinion, he didn't.
And, you make a great point, just because I think, of course, to be a contender year in and year out, you have to have that quarterback that you can win because of. And I think Sam Howell is a quarterback that you can win with on the next level, but the thing with him is that is he ever going to get into that tier of that starter, that top 15 to 20 guy that can go out no matter who the weapons are or the environment or the surrounding that he has? Is he going to be able to uplift that supporting cast? That was always the big question with Sam Howell. He just wasn't able to do that last year.
I'll give you another name, and I'm not saying he's going to be a starter, but I think he's going to be in this league as a backup for 7 to 10 years minimum. That's Bailey Zappi out of Western Kentucky. The first time I heard his name and saw him, I had Houston Baptist versus Texas Tech in the COVID year. Anish Shroff, Tom Luganville, and I did that game. And we're expecting 50 to 10. We have all this film material. And here comes this young man, Bailey Zappi, who throws for over 500 yards at Texas Tech, right? And just goes in screw you, Power 5 Texas Tech Red Raiders. We're HBU. I'm coming in, and I'm going to beat your butt. And he came in with a bleep you attitude. Threw for over 500 yards in that game, and they almost beat the Red Raiders. And his offensive coordinator is Patrick Mahomes' old GA, who Cliff Kingsbury basically said, Zach Kitley, take Patrick Mahomes, he's your guy. Zach Kitley then he was the OC at HBU, then took Zappi to Western Kentucky. He threw 62 touchdowns last year for nearly 6,000 yards. Now, can he drive it vertically? No. But does he get the ball there? Yeah, and he has a remarkable attitude. I think this young man, 5th, 6th round, somebody's going to get not just a camp arm that I thought I saw 2 years ago,
or practice,
but a guy who's going to be on the 53.
Right.
I saw him live in the Boca Raton Bowl on the mean streets of Boca Raton, and he threw it better than I expected because I thought I was looking at a guy that's just going to have long handoffs. And their offense is really weird, outside the numbers, but he was really productive. That's really impressive, though, that you saw a Houston Baptist game. That's on a whole other level.
COVID year, man. That was the launch of the Big 12, whatever ESPN Plus, network thing.
At that point, we would take any games that we could get. I mean, come on, we were salivating.